Good afternoon and welcome to a new episode of Gigabits and Gigahertz, a vlog for the telecom industry where we discuss uh, technology, policy, spectrum, and everything else. So today I have a very special guest. And I would like to welcome Grace Chen from Common Network. Grace, how you doing? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm good, hanging in there. Thanks for having me.
Now, I'm very excited and very happy to have you here and to talk about, technology, broadband, the industry as a whole. And I would like to start by first, so all the people that are watching this vlog, those who don't know who Common Network is or who don't know Grace, I would like you to make us like a quick introduction of where you coming from and Common Networks, how that came to be.
Sure. So yeah, I'm Grace. I'm one of the co-founders here at Common Networks and our CEO. And we've been doing this for a little over 4 years. Our mission was, 4.5 years ago, we were like, we got to bring high-speed internet service to as many people as possible, to everyone, if possible. That's the mission. Before that, I was at Square, the payments company, actually,
Yes.
with my 3 other co-founders. That's where we all met. And so I was leading the point of sale product there. When you go into restaurants and retailers, get that point of sale. I led that product from the software side for a long time. We were there from like early days, a lot of international expansion work, all the way up to IPO. And then before that, I was at Google, also sort of doing product management and development of new solutions. I actually started off at NASA, started off my career at
Really?
NASA.
Wow.
Space.
Nice.
But for only a short period of time.
And at NASA as a starting point seems very interesting. Were you like very interesting technology when you were a child?
I always like to figure out how to build things. I probably would have thought I would have been a mechanical engineer, actually, if I had to guess in the beginning. And then, graduated from college and didn't really know what to do. Both my parents were like 30-year veterans at NASA. So I thought, okay, everybody goes to NASA, right? That's what you do. So then I got a job at NASA planning space missions to Mars. But the thing about space missions, especially back then, I'm kind of old, was that it's, you would plan a mission that's for like 9 years away. And I'm like, I'm not going to be around for this. I need a faster cadence here.
No patience for space.
I have no patience for space. Yeah. So I moved out of that. And then, when I got to Google, I actually started off sort of on like partnership, sales operations inside. And then the way I kind of fell into product management and engineering and development was I would always try to engineer myself out of a job. Like there was something to do that was, people were doing manually. And I'd be like, I don't really want to do that.
Right.
How can I build a thing so that it happens automatically? So I was
even easier to do.
Yeah. So then kind of fell into product management and like building systems and softwares and stuff like that.
Cool. And Common Networks, will you define Common Networks? Are you a WISP? Are you an ISP?
It's a good question, Gino. I would say we are the world's first software-defined ISP.
Okay.
Maybe try that. Or we are 5G home internet. That's another way to decide it. But actually, the truth is we are kind of unique and sort of we span both buckets of what normally would be separate companies, right? Like, so we've built a totally from scratch technology stack, hardware integration, software, routing layer, all the way up to, tools for the field techs to use fully end to end. And then we also operate. So we're an operator too. So we're a WISP and we're a tech company.
Yes, that's a very interesting mix. And at least on the WISP side, you guys are not kind of the traditional WISP.
Yeah.
Most of the WISP are like mom and pop shop that grew, and some are still small. Others are big, but they're kind of grew from their own environment. And you guys are I can replicate you. I can say that you guys are most like a startup kind of environment.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. And I believe you're one of the few ISPs that are Silicon Valley funded, right?
Yeah, we're venture backed so I think that most WISPs that you meet are like homegrown, right? Blood, sweat, tears,
Yeah.
making sure that cash,
Old school.
yeah, old school, day in, day out, making sure you have cash in the bank. And therefore there's a certain pace at which you have to scale. Too fast and it's not good, right?
Yes,
and what we're trying to do is we started off more on the technology side. Like we have a whole different idea for how you can build an ISP. And to be honest, there was a point at which we had to decide, do we just be a tech player and then sell that to WISP? Right? Like I guess sell my technology to any operator, or do I also try to operate it myself? And I think that all paths lead through operating it yourself to some degree, right? Like if you're going to try to sell it, the first thing you, Gino, are going to ask me is, well, let me see a pilot of it working. Right? Or like, let me see where it worked before I'm going to buy it, right? And then how do I know it's going to work for me? And now we actually you have to operate it to know the problems, right? Like what the field is going to run into. And I think because we did everything in a completely different way, we had to build up a lot of tools to make sure it worked for everyone involved and all the systems involved. So it made sense for us to both be a tech company and operate it.
Yeah, makes sense. I wonder if you maybe a trailblazer on this, and other other companies come out with venture-backed financial, and they can grow quicker as the venture capital ecosystem embrace broadband. Do you think this is a good environment? Is Silicon Valley or the venture capital industry ready to fund like traditional ISPs or broadband companies?
It's a good question. So from my experience is that venture capital is not interested in funding traditional ISPs like that are going to grow steadily cash flow businesses, like good cash flow businesses, but they're growing 10-20% year over year. Like that's not as interesting.
Too slow of a pace for them.
Yeah, too slow. They need like 10x returns in 5 years. Like they don't have that kind of patience. And that makes sense more for private equity or something like that. Good, consistent returns, right? Lower risk, that kind of thing. There are a few other companies that are now that are building technology or were building technology around ISPs, and then our ISPs themselves that are getting some backing.
Yeah, I can think of maybe Starry Internet.
Starry, I was going to say, yeah, Starry is the other one.
Pilot Fiber.
Yeah, there's, I guess Vivint Internet didn't quite have that. They were private equity backed. But there's a few coming up, that have, but you kind of have to have a unique way of doing it that is going to show that the ramp is going to be like that rather than like linear growth,
And on that topic, I believe that in order to have exponential growth quickly, you need the Mystic self-installed CPE, because that's the quickest way to grow. You just send the CPE through mail, and the user just self-install it, and you can exponentially grow quicker. What are your thoughts around that?
Oh yeah, that's the dream, Gino. Have you figured it out? Can you give me the secret?
I haven't.
Because that is the dream. Oh, you should have seen some of the stuff I've thought about trying to get to self-install. I do think that is ultimately how you grow really, really fast, especially saving cost. That's a cost savings efficiency thing, right? Like major, and then you save that cash and you can reinvest it in growth and all that kind of stuff. So I definitely think that's the future. I have
a couple of ideas I can share with you.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, I have the hardware and software development arms of my company, but maybe you guys can do it.
Is it like a protracting? What you got? You want to share it on the vlog, or should we do it offline?
Maybe off the blog.
I have some really crazy ones too. Some of them are terrible, but some of them maybe eventually will work, and as the wireless technology develops, like some things might be possible now that weren't before too. Have you heard of like the special glass and all this kind of stuff that you can use? So maybe, I think one day we want to get there. We do have a system right now where we are getting more and more efficient, even though we do have to roll a truck right now.
Right.
But we try to get efficient again with software, right? Like we give our field techs all these tools to use, and that's the whole thing is like first of all, you try not to roll the truck after
Right.
you go there the first time, right? You try to like have it solve itself through
Right.
software or whatever. And then if you do have to go, you make it like a quick trip because you are diagnosed, the field tech's already diagnosed what's wrong, plug, get out of there.
Right. Let's talk about, what you guys have developed, obviously what you can share with us.
Yeah, sure.
I know that you guys at some point were involved with Facebook Telegraph,
Mm-hmm.
doing some trials. We also are a beta tester of Facebook Telegraph. Can you share some experience that you had with Facebook Telegraph, and also as a segue, go into your own graph system?
Are you still trialing right now?
Yeah, it's still running.
Yeah. So we've been partnered with Facebook for several years now. I think you know this, but for the audience, Telegraph is several different things, right? Telegraph is this initiative to use millimeter wave radio to kind of like replace aerial fiber, replace backhaul, and trench fiber. So I think there are several. If we break it up, Telegraph is one part hardware development and like radio development, baseband, that kind of features on the low level. Then part of the dream is also like network management system, OSS, planning tools, etc. And the layer that we use is only the hardware RF components. So we have a network. Maybe I'll show you the picture.
Okay. That'll be awesome.
That helps.
I would like to tell our audience, they have any questions, they can just pop it up in the comments and we will see it and we can share it with you guys and discuss it live. So please continue. Sorry, Grace.
Okay, I'm just pulling it up. Can you see this?
Yep, right there.
Okay. So we've created something we call wireless graph networking. And this isn't, the beginning part of it looks very similar to a WISP, right? You got fiber in places, you're using wireless links like, Ciclu, Cambium, whatever. You guys are Mimosa shop or?
We mostly use Cambium. And we have some Mimosa, not a lot. Mostly B24 radios, 20 points. Yeah. But with Saragon and Ciclu, we have a lot of stuff. Like most WISPs.
Yes, like us too. So the beginning of it looks similar, right? Where you get on certain buildings, you get fiber in a couple places. What we always try to do is, the difference that we have is that we have a true graph. So there is no hub and spoke anywhere in our network. Every node, whether it's backhaul or a customer, is also a relay. So what that means is that line of sight, you can come at homes from all these different angles, from your neighbor's house, from the house across the street, you can get to the home. And what it also means is that you can grow your coverage organically without having to pay for any like rooftop space or something, right? So we pay very little to get our initial infrastructure, this red dotted line set up, right? With, MDUs, the typical WISP kind of thing.
Right.
Some towers, but not very many towers. And then what we do is, with very little coverage, we start acquiring customers, and those customers have more than a typical CPE on their roof. They actually have compute. There's compute at every single home and multiple radios that hop you to the next house and to the next house and so forth. So even if you can't see one of the backhaul nodes, you hop to another home and so forth. And there's no such thing as like an end leaf node. Does that make sense?
Yeah. It's kind of a mesh system.
Yeah, it's a total graph-based system, like the old meshes, except we're doing full duplex because we're using separated radios the whole way. And then this is kind of like where Telegraph and 60 gigahertz comes into play. You can ignore most of this, but this picture right here, it's mixed mode, right? So like on your house, Gino, you might have a 60 gigahertz link shooting this way and a 5 gigahertz link shooting this way and a 24 gigahertz link shooting another way, depending on who you're serving.
Looking at it from a WISP point of view, it looks like a whole mess of problems to troubleshoot.
Oh yeah,
I will assume that this is some way controlled by the SDN system?
Exactly, because that's exactly right. The more you look at this system, you go, holy crap.
Right, yeah.
You got
Just need
so
to
many
configure this
links.
radio, change the channel on this radio will affect the backhaul on the other end. Yes, a
Yep.
lot of decisions.
Yep. What if this is on the same channel as this one and
Exactly.
this one is on that one, and they're all point-to-point links for the most part, right? So I'm going to run out of spectrum and channel.
Right.
So that is all software controlled.
Okay.
So the whole network optimizes itself, optimizes its route, optimizes its channel distribution. Like, for example, on every rooftop, we know where every radio is, the GPS location, and we know it's heading. So we know Gino has 2 radios, one pointed at 90 degrees, one pointed at 180 or something.
Yeah.
And the one at 90 is a ubiquity nano beam. Its beam pattern is like this, so I know its propagation.
Right.
And then the other one is a microtick, 60 gigahertz, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And I know that's on that. So then you can look at the whole network, know where all the radios are, know everywhere where they're pointing, and then calculate in the cloud the best distribution of channels.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Why
don't you guys just sell it to us? The WISP market is begging for this.
One day I actually do think that will be huge. In all honesty, the WISP market is not big enough to make that financially viable.
Yeah, makes total sense. Yeah.
But someday I do, maybe we'll open source it one day.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be awesome. We're really excited to look forward for it. Wow. So okay, that's very interesting, and the technology behind it seems spectacular. I wish I had something like that in my WISP.
How are you guys doing channel allocation and stuff like that?
Just manually.
But for everywhere?
Yeah.
Then would you have a big... So I was doing it on a whiteboard at first, right? Like, okay, this is the... But at some point, isn't it like too much for the brain?
Well, yeah. But there's no way to do it, frankly.
Yeah.
So.
All right, I'm going to open source this for you one day, Gino.
Awesome. I'm taking your word. And then I got witnesses. So that's the software part. How about the hardware part? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, actually, so
Jim wants it.
We'll get to that in a second.
I would just want to say Jim has a WISP in Hawaii. Maybe he can trade one of the smaller islands in Hawaii for the software. I would
definitely take an island, even just a little island, preferably with a house already.
Nice.
No, so the hardware component. So for hardware, we're also pretty agnostic, right? So we're spectrum agnostic and hardware agnostic. So we'll use, just like any other WISP, any kind of manufacturer. But the key thing we do is we integrate them all at layer 2 so that we can just pass layer 2 traffic. So it could be, on one roof, you might have like an Ignite net going one way and a Ubiquity going the other way and a MikroTik going the other way. And it all combines into our node, that is our custom hardware, which routes layer 2 traffic. So technically, it doesn't even need to be wireless. It could be like an Ethernet cable coming in. It could be a fiber coming in. In fact, we do have fiber links in our backhaul that are also controlled by this system.
By the system.
Right, yeah. It could be, I don't know, it could be a Yagi antenna. Like, it doesn't really matter what it is as long as it can pass layer 2 traffic. And then the hardware itself, really we're just looking, this is where we're not dissimilar from a WISP. We're just looking for best price to performance, right? Like, if something performs really well at the specs that we need, at the distances we need, and in the weather conditions, what have you, we'll integrate with it all into our system. And it's really easy for us to integrate like Mimosa in or Cambium in or another Ubiquity radio. But we are also developing some of our own hardware.
Right. That's what I wanted to get into.
We're only doing, so the strategy isn't a hardware strategy. Like, we only develop our own hardware when we can't find what we need in the market. Okay. That's actually how we got started, is we were like, we can't find this particular kind of like outdoor routing PoE-like thing that can sit on a roof and mount really easily, yada, 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 at the price point that we wanted. So we manufactured it. But if, let's say, someone were to come out with that, or someone wanted to partner with us to build that thing, one of the OEMs, we'd be happy to do it.
Okay.
Because it's not a hardware play.
Right. Just mostly like you doing the research and development, and then maybe have something outsourced or something like that.
Yeah, happy to have someone else manufacture it, or if like I can load my software onto a MikroTik radio, I would, and then I wouldn't need my custom built thing, right? Now we are developing we did announce a new 802.11ay hardware that we're developing called Peregrine, and that's like a forward-facing 360 degrees teragraph enabled radio, 60 gigahertz phased arrays, but again, we don't need to. So if, you know how all these manufacturers are supposed to be coming out with 802.11ay gear this year.
This year.
This year. It keeps changing.
Yeah. It's coronavirus. So
that's true.
We can hammer them.
But they can only do so much. But we're happy to use that. Like as soon as that comes out, we'll be testing everyone's gear, and if it's the right price point, and it serves our purposes, we'll just integrate it.
Yeah, it's easier for you guys. Nice. So you mentioned that you have fiber in some places as backhaul, right?
Yeah.
Do you foresee integrating like fiber for access to in the future?
Not in the immediate future, but I can imagine in some places where you start off with fiber as backhaul, and then your whole customer network's wireless. Okay, well then, what happens if there's a lot of traffic this way and it actually makes monetary sense to push fiber deeper, right?
Right. Yeah.
Fine. Maybe we push fiber deeper to that particular home or that particular MDU. We get the flexibility of doing it when it makes sense, though, right? Not like not like fiber to the home where you have to like commit and you're like, I'm doing it. I hope I can get some customers. Right? I hope I pay back this $10 million I'm paying for this this line. We actually do it wirelessly first, and then we're totally open. Like people think of it as, oh, you are a direct competitor to fiber to the home, but there are some places where it doesn't make sense for fiber to the home to go.
Right. Yeah.
And we will always go beyond that, right? And there are some places where even in our network, it might make sense to pull fiber to. So we're totally open to that. Yeah.
So you guys seek out like markets that are currently underserved, or you just go ahead and compete directly with the big guys?
So right now we have one big market, which is the Oakland area, East Bay, Oakland area, and there's several cities within it that we serve, and we're continuing to expand there. For market expansion, we generally look at markets with one or fewer, broadband player, which is the majority of the U.S. actually. So there's a number of other factors that we rank, like size of market, demographic, income, that kind, more like medium income and like topology and stuff like that. But then one of the big factors is competition. In the US, there's like so many places where it's just a monopoly player, and those are really easy to go into, take share.
Yeah. So who you think are your competitors?
Direct competitors, like who we go up with in the market, is different than what I think of as like technology competitors.
Okay.
Actually.
We can see it.
Yeah. So direct competitors in our markets, we generally are taking share from Comcast and AT&T.
Okay.
Like that's who we take from, and that's who we have to compete with for a consumer, right? If you're thinking about the longer game, like who's gonna win in the longer game and build technology, I think it's a different set of people. It's the Starries, right? It's like a Starry, or maybe eventually Starlink if they can get enough bandwidth going. If Elon manages to pull a rabbit out of the hat and like do some crazy laws of physics things, like that could be the case. From a technology perspective, I think those are but that's different. And Verizon 5G, right? Because their balance sheet is so huge, they can do really uneconomical things that I can't do.
Yeah,
you and I can't do.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, well, so that's more on the technology side, but direct in market, we compete with cable.
Okay, let's talk a little bit more about Starlink.
Have you been following everything? I'm kind of obsessed.
Yes, because obviously it could be a competitor in the future for like all the WISPs and all the broadband providers.
Yeah.
It's not limited to certain markets. So What do you think about it? Do you think is that they're going to be able to pull it off? Do you think that they're just going after maybe the rural markets where underserved, or they're going to compete directly in the very dense areas?
So I've done a lot of math against all the numbers that I've been able to find, and there's no way they can serve dense urban. No way, no way, no how.
Okay.
Like they just do not have the bandwidth to be able to do that, right? Like the way their beams cover, they cover like 25-kilometer diameter radius with one beam, and they can only serve that 300 megabits per second. So how many customers? If you're in an urban area, you want to be the first one to sign up. And then
how many megabits do you think they can serve
from each? So, okay, well, it depends on like what Elon claims versus what I believe based on conversations
research
to actually be true. Research and conversations to actually be true, which is that they're not going to be able to really compete with gigabit class. Definitely not in the next few years. So they're really looking at rural, or like not just rural, but like an aircraft carrier, right? Or like something like that, where they're willing to pay a lot of money for some good internet because there's no way they can get it. Like waterlogged area, or like hyper rural areas, but they can't. If you like put some sort of oversell rate on how much they're able to do and how much each beam can cover, they can't actually get that many customers. So they would never be able to serve a dense area. Right, per beam.
Right. Yeah, I think if they follow the disruption innovation theory, they will start to obviously embrace the higher cost customers that can pay thousands of dollars per month.
Too. Yep.
For service, like military, industrial, and those type of customers that are needing low latency currently on their networks.
Yeah,
and they're just using satellite as a last ditch effort. So
I think it's both. I think that's right. It's like industrial B2B, big money, right? Yeah. And then heavy rural, because the middle they can't really get yet. And I kind of did some back of the envelope math. It costs $50 million for every Falcon 9, and they can put up 60 per Falcon 9 today, and each one of them costs, let's say, $1 million. Maybe they can get it down, right? Yeah. And they need 12,000 up there for a full constellation. So and they only last every 4 to 5 years. So they're going to be replacing and spending like $100 million every month on replacement, like over the years. If you do the math out for how you got to replace one every 5, so you got to place your full constellation every 5 years. Exactly. The math is tough.
Yeah, it is.
Unless they do what you're saying, which is to serve people who can pay a lot of money.
Yeah. Well, eventually they will reach mass scale on production and then lower the cost of the CPE, which I think right now is pretty expensive.
Yep.
And maybe then they could target more dense markets. I'm not too familiar with the capacity of each satellite, but I've read some stuff on the web, and some people are stating that each satellite can push like 10 gigs of traffic.
You got to divide that out by the area it has to cover, though, right? Like at any given time, it might be covering half the US or like a quarter of the US, so 10 gigs is enough for half the US.
No, definitely. Right? Definitely. There's other players like, OneWeb. We just got some funding from the UK government, and I forgot Amazon's play, but I
forgot the name of that one. Yeah. But Gino, I don't know about you, but I think it's all very exciting. Like, even though I know eventually they might compete, I think it's cool.
Oh no, I'm all for it. I just, I have to learn who's could be my probable competitors in the future, so I can adjust my strategy. Think ahead. But it's very interesting technology. It's been developed, and also you mentioned Verizon's 5G, which I think they could be a big player in the market. And T-Mobile too. T-Mobile is pretty committed to doing home services. What do you think about that?
Has T-Mobile? So I've followed Verizon 5G more closely. Has T-Mobile announced how they're going to do it?
Well, basically they're going to use their spectrum assets they just acquired from Sprint on the 2.5 band.
And do just like 5G. street assets 5G the way Verizon's doing it?
I will think that not this is not going to be so street intensive because the band 2.5
Mhm.
way better propagation than 38 gig or something like that.
Yeah.
So I believe maybe they can take do it from the towers. So
Yeah. I think for what Verizon's doing is kind of the thing that we are trying to exactly say won't work, which is that
right,
they need so many street lights to get the right propagation and the right number of amount of
yeah,
penetration that it's like really, really uneconomical.
right,
Just
yes,
like
very,
Google Fiber was like, they had a
yeah,
big balance sheet so they could do some
yeah,
uneconomical things. But after a while, you got to pay the popper.
exactly,
You got to
exactly,
pay.
yeah. Yeah, I believe so. Do you think that how about what do you think about new opportunities within spectrum that's coming available, like CBRS, the 6 gig that was recently
Yeah.
announced? Do you guys plan on using some of that?
Um, so I'm super excited about the 6 gigahertz because I think, we have this crazy mesh of all these point to point links,
Yeah,
and the more spectrum we have, the better. That's unlicensed.
800,
But
850 megahertz. That's a lot.
it's so much. Yeah. Um, I think we're open. Like I said, we're kind of like spectrum agnostic. So as long as the gear comes out that can support like speeds, price, so we'll look at it. The CBRS gear just isn't at the price point yet. Like
Right,
it's all LTE, but maybe when there's not LTE CBRS gear, then we could use that.
right.
Um, so we're watching all of those pretty closely, and
I'm pretty excited about 6 gig because
yeah,
it comes with Wi-Fi 6, which will get the economies of scales on
yeah,
chipset manufacturing to be able to use it as us as an operators pretty cheaply. So
yeah.
I'm very excited about that. Very
Yeah, me
excited.
too. I actually was just talking with someone about Wi-Fi 6E today, and definitely as soon as there's something to try, we're gonna want
Yeah,
to try it.
definitely, definitely. Grace, we've been talking for half an hour. Time
Oh,
has flown
sorry.
by, flown by. No, no, it's great. It's great. It's great information. Any last thoughts on technology, on the industry?
Oh, just that, I mean, the current pandemic, I don't know about you guys, but here it's like it's that much more important to have high-speed internet, and it's that much
Yeah,
more important to have symmetric. And that gives us as WIFs, I feel like a leg up finally
yeah,
against the cable players because they can't do it.
exactly.
Um, so no, I think it's a really exciting time, actually. Even though a lot is going wrong in the world, it's an opportunity for us to like get everyone connected. And there's no one technology rules
Yeah,
them all in this, right? Like certain technology works better for certain topology, like
that's true.
region. So kind of feel like there's a lot of room here. And the
It
and the
is.
addressable market is literally everyone. So lots to
Exactly,
go after.
exactly, exactly.
Should I
I,
answer Jim's question?
Jim's another new question from
Oh,
Jim.
this one is the ultimate goal to sell to the management. I kind of
Yeah,
already answered that.
yeah, we you did. Um, I like to close with two questions to my invitees. The first one is which blog, podcast, book, or content source will you recommend to anyone that is interested maybe in entrepreneurship or Silicon Valley or anything like that, or anything that is piquing your interest right now?
Oh, okay. You're about to learn something personal about me.
Sure. No problem.
Is that so if I'm reading for work, I read for work, and I like subscribe to all the, like I got telecoms.com, I got Fast Player FM, I got all these different, like for podcasts, I got CIS banking. I'm tracking everything that's happening in the industry via all these newsletters. So
Okay.
I think that's a good way to kind of track what's going on. Like if you can get any of the like Lion Tree, TMT newsletters and stuff like that, it's kind of cool to see who's investing in what. Like
Okay.
what I like to see who's investing in what as a indication, right?
Okay.
Of like
Got it.
where's the money going, and
Right.
then you can kind of see where things are moving. So that I kind of do more newsletter. One thing about me is I really don't like reading those like business books.
Okay.
The like I know I'm not supposed to say this as an entrepreneur, but I really
No.
don't like to read like Checklist Manifesto. I mean, I read it because
Yeah.
I was told I should read it, but I try not to read a lot of those business books because I find them stressful. When I read, I like to read science fiction. But when I'm doing work stuff, it's usually like feeds from and trying to see where the money is going, where people are investing. Yeah.
Awesome. And then the last question will be any advice you can give to our audience about anything at all, maybe technology or entrepreneurship or Silicon Valley startups. You have plenty of experience.
Like probably what I'd say is Wispapalooza. I think you go there every year, right? Wispapalooza. I met a lot of WISPs that were thinking like, oh, can I use your technology? Either your LiDAR, high res, like line of sight tool, or your routing tool. And I think, we're not opening it up yet. We're not selling it B2B currently. But I think that for a lot of WISPs, they think, oh, I can't do that. That's software. Like, I can't do that. You can do it. Like, even if you start really, really small, there's a lot of stuff out there nowadays to help you get going. Even with something really little, like automate just one little thing of what you do. Just pick something really small and automate it. There's a lot of tools out there to help people do it that it just will help operational scale. We're doing it. We're trying to make that the whole business, right? So it's different. But I think for WISPs, there's a fear of like trying to build something yourself. But I actually think that the world has made it easier to build new tech. So it doesn't hurt to try,
That's awesome advice. And I can vouch for it. We just hired our software developer in-house like for last year.
Your first?
And yeah.
Oh, wow. Wow, Gino.
And it's been amazing. It has so much that we have been able to automate and just little tweaks here and there, and it's great.
Little things like that, like even for like a field tech or something, it's like a dream, right?
It is for sales, and everyone is benefiting from this. So I agree 100% on this. 100%.
Even hack together a little macro in Excel or something. Like, it doesn't need to be fancy, right? Just like any of those little things will make you feel like warm, fuzzy inside and get you that operational efficiency.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Well, Grace, thank you very much. It's been an awesome experience to have you here on the vlog, and wish you all the success in the world. And I hope that, the coronavirus fades away in the near future. If we can move on and, continue to grow our companies.
Yeah, and then hopefully I'll see you at the next conference.
Yes.
In real life.
And we need to discuss the secret
your
self-installed CPU.
Your self-install ideas. I want to hear about them. Thanks so much for having me, Gino.
Thank you.
It was really fun.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. And this has been Gigabits and Gigahertz, a vlog about technology. Thank you very much for being here, and see you next time. Bye-bye.